Hey folks, thanks for stopping by again. Dave Aschenbrenner, Legendary Motorcycles. Today we have a special tank. I would say this would be, to this date, probably our biggest challenge. We had one other Ducati tank that we did that I think was surpassed this in difficulties, but this is a pretty extremely difficult tank to do, and requires built-in fuel lines, a drain line that drains to the back, and a return line, and a fuel pump flange. This is the fuel pump flange, and as I learned on a previous version of this one, the flange has to be exactly at the right angle where it hits the back of this. It just fits in there really tight. So we've designed all of the inner parts here, and there's probably got to be 50 different welds that weld all these pieces together on here, but we'll get into that later. I'll kind of update you on this. We'll show you what we're doing with it. There's also billet blind nuts in the bottoms here, which is kind of difficult. We also have to blind all of these. Here's those two return and drain lines that I was telling you about earlier, and a lot of crazy nomenclature in the front where this right here kind of tucks underneath, and it's got to get welded to the bottom and to the actual opening in the tank with the air box where the air box resides and carburetors reside up into here. So this is a tough one, and we have a remote cap well that fits down into here. Everything had to be turned on I don't know if you can see my lathe over there, but we had to turn everything on the lathe and fabricate everything here. The rear flange was cut on my CNC machine here. So this is quite an involved project. These tanks aren't cheap, but here's the nomenclature of the outer tank right here. As you can see, this one was pounded into the shape, and I just wanted to bring this up. You know, I watch a lot of these other guys, see if I can pick up any tips and tricks from a lot of guys maybe on YouTube or from books or whatever. And I haven't really seen anybody do anything like this, or I haven't seen anybody use this method. There's so much more to it than just taking a power rivet gun or a English wheel to aluminum and trying to shape this stuff. It's just an insane art form, I'm gonna call it. You gotta figure out how to get all of these shapes out of it without tearing through the metal. And I've got gauges where I actually, after I stretch the metal out, I gauge the metal to make sure that it's not too thin there. And this is kind of well on its way. We've got some, you can see some dressing that I did from the inside of it here, and also the weld. We hammered the weld flat all along here, and here. Then we'll install the cap. Wasn't necessary to weld it there, but we got a lot of hand planishing to do on it. It's just not perfect enough for me. And we're just going to go over this thing with a hand dolly. That's really the way to finish these off. All of the tanks that I'm showing you, they didn't jump out of the form ready to be welded together and get shipped out. There's days and days and days and sometimes weeks of going around with different shaped dollies and forming all of these. Some got a pound from the inside. I want to try to avoid that as much as possible. We want to do as much as we can from the outside, but this is just a long, drawn-out project, and you almost have to really enjoy doing this to be able to, I'm going to call it attrition. You have to keep working with it and keep finding the imperfections in it, and then keep taking dollies to it. And you don't have a dolly that's the right shape for the inside of it. You got to either fix your dolly or you got to order one. Fortunately, we have 3D printers here, and I've taken to making a lot of our tooling with a 3D printer. So the days of shaping steel dollies and screwing around with it like I see some people do on their channels, those are all done. We can do that here, and especially for a tank, we only maybe make this tank I don't know, once every 6 months, once every 3 months, and they have a bunch of tools that you buy specifically dedicated to the shape of this tank. Just doesn't make sense. So again, this is one of those tanks I'll be pecking away at for a while, and I'll update you guys when we start cutting the bottom. I've got the all the CAD programs. And then, you know, I'm going to take you for I'm going to pop you into the office real quick, and I'm going to show you how we do the inside of this. Some of the CAD work that we have to do to make this possible. So come on into my office. Well, here we are in the CAD office, and I just wanted to show you this. This is I'm going to call it my worksheet. These are all of the designs that were drawn up. We tried them out. They were rejected. You see the lines through those. That was reject. We always keep the old file in case we need to go back to it. We just put a line through it instead of erase it and start over. And these are some of the pieces. We also do a S2 R gas tank, which is the same outer nomenclature, but it has the larger round pump ring on it, the mounting ring, and it's a little bit different shaped in the back, in the underneath side of the back. So here's what we ended up with. Just going to kind of come in on this. These are the parts. The ones on the left are the parts that we use for both the S4 SR and the S2 bottoms. So those are the parts we assemble for the box. Okay, well, that's sort of the layout of the pieces. Tab A goes into slot B and slot C, and everything kind of gets welded together in one piece, and then we try to make it into a unit and put it into the back, and then the rear piece where the pump flange goes, we put that in last, making sure everything lines up so the pump fits and everything in there. Anyway, thought I cleared some of these things up. Dave Aschenbrenner, thanks for coming out to the shop. I really enjoyed doing this, otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it, and hope to see you guys next time. Cheers, Dave Aschenbrenner.